What is going on, everybody? We are taking a look up here at 2338 Cleveland Ave this afternoon. It is a 5 unit building. It's up in this Linden neighborhood here. I think it's technically in North Linden because it is north of Hudson Street, just barely though. To give you an idea, we're in downtown Columbus here. This is where downtown is. Linden's up and around here. Easton's up over here. You got the outer loop. Kind of orient yourself, right? So let's go down and take a look here at street level, give you an idea what we're looking at. It is a 5 unit building. Okay, let's get over this thing. So this is it. It's a 5 unit building, townhouse style. They're 2 bed, 1 bath per unit. I'm gonna make myself a little bigger here so you can, I don't know, maybe see my face if you care to, whatever. And then this house here, this single family house, is also included. It's all technically on one lot. It's a 5 unit building plus this one house. The one house is in rough shape. It's excuse me, to my knowledge from the seller I've been talking to, it's currently rented Section 8 through CMHA for like $650, which is a really low voucher, but it's in pretty rough shape. But they're trying to, keep the lady in there and keep her house. She's a long-term tenant, but that is something that eventually would be able to get rehabbed and rented out and everything, and is included in the price. But because there's really not much that income for it, I'm treating it more like a bonus, in that we're really just doing it based off of the 5 unit building and the income that comes from that. Okay. As you can see in the back here, there is some off-street parking. There's about 1, maybe 2 spots per unit if you orient this correctly. It's kind of just a dirt lot right now, or a gravel lot. There's no real defined parking spaces. So that's probably number one that you want to do. But this thing in 2019 it was finished being totally gutted, redone, very nice on the inside. So I'll show you some pictures of the interior, and the everything like that. I guess I don't know why I'm meandering, but before we do, let's take a look at the kind of basic brochure I did up. These numbers have changed somewhat monthly, but this will give you an idea of the pictures. This is the back door there. They got all new AC units and everything. They got central air in them. They got new carpets, beautiful hardwoods. The cabinets are gorgeous. Big, beautiful kind of farm sink. So they did a really nice job, right? And what's happened is originally they were doing this as a standard long-term rental. They had people in there for like $1,250, $1,235 a month, that kind of thing. Looking at market rents for long-term rentals, even though it's nice, you could potentially try and push this thing to 1,300 or 1,350 a unit, but without an extra half bath, I think you'd have a hard time. So with just the strict 2 bed, 1 bath, I really feel like the max right now, or the market rent, is $1,250 a month in rent. And then we also have some data from the seller on a profit and loss statement that they've been using it as a short-term rental, actually, and they've been doing really well. They've been grossing about $2,500 a month on average from the short-term rental. The one unit they did is that. So we kind of took this all into account, and we ran some numbers, and the idea is to get an idea of like where the idea is to get an idea. That's a lot of ideas. Whoops. We're trying to get an understanding of where would we even consider buying this thing, right? Like, where are the numbers shaking out? What's that kind of deal? So at asking price, the seller is asking for $1 million. They really want $1 million. That's kind of what they have their mindset on. The seller, I have a history with them. I've actually bought a personal property and lived in it. They do very high quality work. They are not a standard flipper. The materials and contractors they use are very nice, so I don't have a problem paying a higher premium or a lower cap rate for the property. But at the end of the day, it's still got to make sense. Like, this is Linden. It is kind of on the rougher side for the most part. So you're not talking about a premium area. You're talking about a very particular person or clientele who's going to want to live here. And you're really talking about more affordable housing, even if it is in nice condition, right? So with the max rent at $1,250, that's very affordable for the area. So what we did is we did rental income of 4 units, which is what they currently have at $1,250 a month, and we did the 1 unit at the $2,500 for the short-term rental. So when you do that, you end up losing money every year, which is less than ideal, obviously. The big kind of kicker, or what we took into account here, was 10 grand for property management. That's roughly 10% of what you're going to take in, a little bit more, which is an average rate for this area. However, this seller, to my understanding, is willing to stay on as a property manager. They have done this previously as kind of part of the LLC because they would need to retain a small portion of ownership to do that. They don't like have their license to be a property manager. They manage it now because they own it. So they would need to retain some ownership to keep doing that. But they have done that in the past. They have um, kind of a template to do that. So that is an option if you were interested. But for the sake of this, we're going to assume they're not staying on and that you're going to pay 10% a year. So that's what we're dealing with. So as you can see, it's about 9 grand you're losing in the first year. Your cash on cash return is negative, and your cap rate's like 6.3. So I don't know too many people who would pay 6.3 cap in Linden for anything, and then never mind, that's basically less than your interest rate right now as your return. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. It wouldn't really cover the debt service. So then I started messing with the numbers, and we bumped it down to an 850 purchase price. And that starts to look a little better. We make 14 grand the first year, and it just kind of goes up from there. But again, your cap rate's 8.5%, which gets better. Your cash on cash is low at 5.2, but gets up to by the end of the term towards a 10 and 11%, and then your ROI starts off at 10%. So relatively decent numbers if you change it to 850, if you go to a 70% LTV loan, and if you're able to get that 6.5% interest rate that we're estimating, it starts to make some sense at that point. And then kind of for shits and giggles here, we did a total cash offer at 850 as well. And that looks pretty good. You've got a 9% cap rate, you got an 8% cash on cash return, and an 8.4% ROI. The other kind of key indicator here is to bump up our income. We did 2 units as a short-term rental. So we went down to 3 units as long-term, 2 as a short-term, and that brought our income up enough to over 100 grand. And then with all our expenses and everything, it starts to make some sense. So if you can do a cash offer, or if you've got the cash to put into it, this probably makes the most sense. But the target acquisition is really probably around that 850 mark, and being able to take advantage of 2 units as a short-term rental at minimum, if not more so as they start to turn over. So that's kind of where we would begin considering to take this deal down and go from there. So if you have any interest in this deal or anything else, or any questions about what I went over, reach out. My email's in the description below, and we'll see you in the next one.